Let's get to Niall Stanage, White House columnist for The Hill. Niall, I think that the most remarkable part of this bipartisan bill that passed in the Senate for gun control is how many Republicans did sign on after decades of it seeming as though Democrats and Republicans were as far as the East is from the West on any kind of measure like this. So obviously not everybody who believes in the right to own and carry a gun is as impassioned as, say, members of the NRA. But is there an expectation that voters or constituents within the Republican Party would have pushback on this decision?
Some constituents will have pushback, but I think that the argument is that in terms of net political benefit or damage, this will be a net plus. You and I have spoken before, Adrian, about the fact that when opinion polls are taken, there is overwhelming support, including from Republican voters, for some of the more modest kinds of measures that we're seeing. Now, that's not everyone. There are people who are very opposed to any kind of gun control measure. There are people who make a slippery slope argument from a Second Amendment perspective. But even Mitch McConnell is arguing that backing this bill, which he and 14 other Republicans did, will benefit the Republican Party with suburban voters in particular.
Right, and there were no weapons bans included in this legislation, this particular bill, focusing more on mental health, on background checks, red flag laws, school security, obviously in response to the Uvalde school shooting, the second most deadly school shooting in our country's history. In terms of what lawmakers did come to the table and agree on, does it seem as though this is going to be a catapult or springboard to more extensive gun control measures?
That's certainly what people like Senator Chris Murphy, the leading Democrat, would hope. He has explicitly made the argument that this is an incremental process. He has said that this doesn't contain everything that he wants. Now, having said all of that, the congressional math is going to be very difficult in the short term. I would not anticipate seeing any further measures being passed anytime very soon. And of course, in the midterm elections, the Republicans are very heavily favored to win control of the House of Representatives, at least, if not also the Senate. And that would tend to weigh against the idea of there being any more ambitious or extensive gun control measures passed.
I want to get to the Supreme Court ruling because when I woke up this morning and we had this discussion before this show, it was though, some people were seeing this as two branches of the government at odds. The Supreme Court extending more rights to concealed carry holders. And then you have this bill, this bipartisan landmark bill. But is it really apples and oranges as the Supreme Court made this ruling on gun rights and the Senate made this ruling on gun control?
Well, I mean, I totally take your point that the two topics are different. But I do think that the Supreme Court ruling obviously is a broad loosening of gun restrictions. Joe explained it very well in your previous segment about no longer having to provide special cause for a license to carry a concealed weapon. That will change the rules in the states that were mentioned, not just New York, but several others, New Jersey, California, Massachusetts. And it is a move in the opposite direction to the Senate measure, albeit on a different segment of the broader debate.
I wish we could talk about this more because, I mean, the New York Police Department commissioner says nothing changes as a result of the Supreme Court ruling. If you have a premise permit, it does not automatically convert to a carry permit. And if you carry a gun illegally in New York, you will be arrested. So from the police commissioner, he's saying this is not this, massive change. But then you hear from the mayor and the governor of New York who are just so upset, saying that this ruling is reprehensible, it's frightful, it's reckless. So obviously we're going to continue to hear from officials and leaders within different governments, including New York most, of course, vocally. Thank you, Niall. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.